Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I did something very stupid. I recorded this whole thing already with the microphone off. So anyways, but that's cool. It's kind of like a dry run. Help me hopefully just trim this down a bit and not waste time fumbling over things. So, I'm going out of this, I'm reading this book, Serial Murderers and Their Victims by Eric W. Hickey, 7th edition, published by Cengage or Cengage. It basically is a textbook. I'm pretty sure it would be used in like criminology classes, probably some psych classes. And I mostly just say this just to show that this isn't just some, book, put out like top 5 craziest serial killer, it's academic, and, I'm just saying that to sort of, indicate the level of knowledge in the book. Sorry, I was reading something. Okay, but I'm going to go over, he's got a list in here called myths about serial killers. And it'll be like myth number 1, and then the fact that rebuts it is right next to it, so I'll read it like that. And myth number 1 really, to me, was the most interesting because it's something that's come up often. It comes up in just conversation with people. It comes up it's part of popular culture, this myth, pretty pervasive. And I'm going to play you a couple clips from Opie and Anthony, who are white guys, and they have Patrice O'Neal, an African-American, rest in peace, who was a great guest on their show. Very, very funny, great radio, great stuff to listen to. Go check it out. There's a huge playlist on YouTube if you search Patrice O'Neal on Opie and Anthony. This guy literally has every time he was on. I've been listening to it for weeks. So a couple times I did some screen recordings and got these little clips here.
People have to be associated with a couple of crazy motherfuckers at a Burlington
Well, we do
and then
get associated with crazy
fucking
shit.
not. I don't ever look at you like the profile that you are. Either a pedophile or either a mass office killer, or either a serial killer. That your profile. Okay, I'm just saying. I don't look at you like and get nervous like, oh, here he come. Mm-hmm. Or I don't look at every young white girl like that's pushing a stroller like, oh, she gonna kill a baby because she wants to go.
All right, and so that was Patrice talking to the two white guys. They're talking about racial stereotypes. They always get into this kind of stuff when Patrice was on, and it's very fun to listen to, and funny a lot of the times. Here's another quick one.
Sandwich in his hand.
Whoops, no, that's the wrong clip. Check this one out.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
How come? Like we was talking about the serial killer. I should fear every white man walking up the street as a potential person that could eat me.
Right, because of the serial killer
Or
thing.
kill
It's
me.
always profiled as a middle-aged white guy. Right, I understand.
That's what you do.
You know what it is,
Why
though?
isn't that representative of what you guys do?
Percentages. Black people make up 10% of the population, so now there's a problem because it's not an even divide. See, with
All right. So that's the myth that Hickey puts in his book here. Myth number 1, they are nearly all Caucasian. And he rebuts it with the fact that says overall 1 in 5 serial killers is black. In recent years, at least 50% are black. So, that come up. Sorry, I'm trying to do a lot at once here. Let me make sure. I'm trying to tee something up for us. I've come across that. First of all, I think everybody believes that. We all believe that, just walking around in daily life. That's the profile that we receive, from, I hate to say it, but from media. And by media, I don't mean the media. I mean media, like the McLuhan sense of media. All of it. One time I used to work at a hardware store, and there was a black family that came out. It's like a mom and... Well, I was like mid-20s at the time, and there was like a mom and like her son and like maybe a daughter, I don't remember. I mostly just remember the son because of this anecdote. And he was about my age probably. But, I go up, just, hey, do you guys need help? Or the mom called me over for help, something like that. I don't remember how it went. But I remember the son just kind of, he looked at me and he's like, oh, shit, man, back up. I got to be afraid of you. You could be like a serial killer or a pedophile, because you can sort of tell he just was walking around always thinking like, white people be like that, being a black man in a white world. Which, of course, that I'd have nothing to say about that. But I'm just saying you could tell how on his mind it was. Much like this Patrice clip. Now, I don't mean to be disingenuous to Patrice. I'm sure, I don't remember exactly, but it comes up in the flow of conversation. It's not like Patrice, although sometimes he does just bring up shit that he just wants to get off his chest. But I think it was the same thing going on with this guy. And at the time, I agreed with him. I'm like, oh, yeah, you're right. But I didn't want to, like, argue and be like, yeah, but you guys do this, It's like, But, yeah, so anyways, here's one more Patrice clip to round out that first myth about serial killers being white guys.
But not an excuse, but I'm saying white sites are just ridiculous with their horse shit. Even though there's one part of it where I'll be fair, there's two things I've seen racist-wise that I had to
on white websites.
One was a guy made a YouTube video and they go, oh yeah, nigga, all serial killers are white? And this son of a bitch made about a 10-minute video on black serial killers. Oh, shit. And to be a fair motherfucker, I go, well, motherfucker. There are nigga serial killers. Like, amazing. Straight up throwing a bitch in a dumpster. Yeah. Not just like shooting up outside of a club, but hunting bitches and killing them.
We only know the one. Randomly just killing.
Dude, it kept showing. Yeah. It was. So I had to appreciate this guy's tenacity of his racism. And the other thing he did, or not him, but Nigga Maney, when I was looking at it, it dispels all the black inventors.
He's just talking about something else. But I just wanted to, credit where it's due. I've been listening to these Patrice appearances for like a couple weeks at work. Loving it. And yes, I'm glad that I also heard that clip so I could throw it in, give respect where it's due. Rest in peace, Patrice. I'm going to mute this while I blow my nose real quick. Oh man, I'm going to have to take some allergy medicine. It is hot as a motherfucker over here. It's just been awful. So you can hear the AC running. All right. Now, I promised you the myths. I'm going to give you those myths. You know what I'm saying? So here we go. I'll read all 14 out to you. And it will also touch on something else in the same... But anyway, here we go. We did myth number 1. Myth number 2. They are all male. No, nearly 17% are female. Myth number 3. They are insane. Insanity is a legal term. Very few offenders, 2 to 4%, are legally insane. Myth number 4. They are all lust killers. Many are, but several cases do not involve sexual assaults, torture, or sexual mutilations. Myth number 5. Serial killers are prolific. A few have high body counts, but most kill fewer than 8 victims. Myth number 6. They kill alone. About 1 in 4 has 1 or more partners in murder. Myth number 7. Victims are beaten, stabbed, strangled, or tortured to death. Some victims are poisoned or shot. Myth number 8. They are all highly intelligent. Most are of average intelligence. Now, this is the one that's going to send me into a thing after we finish this list talking about Edmund Kemper. He's always cited as, the high IQ serial killer. And people, I think, are fooled by it when they watch, there's that, what was it? It was on HBO, I think, where it interviews him in prison. And because he just sort of talks about himself in a detached way as a psychologist, as though he's studied, he fools people into thinking he's much more of a genius than he really is. And I have one piece of evidence that I think I can back that up with in this very book, but we'll get to that when we get to it, which will be shortly. Myth number 9. They have high mobility in the United States. Most offenders remain in a local area. Myth number 10. They are driven to kill because they were sexually abused as children. Many kill as a result of rejection and abandonment in childhood. Myth number 11. Most serial killers cannot stop killing. Some serial killers stopped killing for several years before they killed again or were caught, including Dennis Rader, the BTK, Jeffrey Gordon, that's with a T, not a D like the NASCAR driver, Jeffrey Dahmer, and Theodore Kaczynski, a.k.a. Uncle Ted. Such offenders often substitute paraphilic behaviors or other diversions in lieu of killing. Myth number 12. Most serial killers want to be caught. Like anyone, they learn and gain confidence from experience. Many want to be serial killers end up in prison after their first murder. Some become very adept at concealing their identities, and many feel as if they will never be caught. Myth number 13. Serial killers are psychopaths. Some serial killers are true psychopaths, while others possess psychopathic traits. Several high body count serial killers who have been PCLR evaluated do not qualify as psychopaths. PCLR, I forget what it stands for, but it's basically just, the agreed psychological survey, questionnaire, evaluation sheet, whatever you want, that's given to people to, diagnose them as psychopaths. Myth number 14, which I like because it sort of comes right full circle back to number 1 in a sense. Myth number 14, serial killers have a prototype. No, they vary in race, ethnicity, religion, nationality, age, gender, SES, IQ, and education. I don't know what SES means, but maybe someone else does. IQ. This reminds me, I'd like to recommend, if you like serial killer videos and stuff like that, if you're tired of watching the same old crap on YouTube, like That Chapter and videos like that, where these people talk in the same cadence because they cut out all their pauses and there's all these jump cuts and it's just kind of shitty and cringy, go watch Deadbug Says. Deadbug is one word and then says. What makes me think of that was reading this last one where it's about just the variations of serial killers. He does a lot of videos about serial killers in Japan. He's put out a few recently on China and Korea. He did a Singapore one, the vampire guy, who was like killing women and drinking their saliva because he was like a warlock or some shit. He does a lot of British, some Canada, America, South America. You may want to just go, you can watch, he's on YouTube. But he doesn't come up as recommended, I think, just because of, the content. But he's also on Odyssey, so go check that out. I have nothing to do with him. I don't even know the guy, but I just think that he makes great shit, and I like his content. So now, let's talk about Edmund Kemper and his high IQ. Now, like any textbook, this one has these little boxes here and there full of supplementary content where they dive more into detail about something. Like, let's say you're reading a history book about the Jews. While it's talking about just ancient Babylonia, there will be a box that gets in-depth about, like, the Dead Sea Scrolls and, stuff like that. So there's a 3-page box that's a profile of Edmund Kemper from page 136 to 138. And here's where it touches on his IQ slightly. Quote. Well, hang on. I'll start at the beginning of this paragraph instead. Give just a little more context about where we are here. Quote. At 13, Kemper ran away to see his father, but was then quickly sent to live with his grandparents. Kemper's mother warned her ex-husband that sending Ed to his grandparents could be very dangerous. A year and a half later, Kemper killed them. Kemper turned himself in and was subsequently placed in the Atascadero State Psychiatric Hospital. During his incarceration, he behaved as a model patient and impressed one psychiatrist so much that he allowed Kemper to administer psychological tests to other patients. He, Kemper, gained access to evaluation test questions and committed them to memory. Kemper learned the requisite psychological jargon and therapeutic skills to convince a parole board, against the advice of psychiatrists, to release him after only 6 years. Kemper returned to live with his mother and soon became embroiled in their usual fighting. However, Kemper was now fully grown, 280 pounds and 6 feet 9 inches tall. His IQ had been measured at 136, but he could only manage holding a job as a flagman for a construction company. Unquote. So, the most important sentence there, he gained access to evaluation test questions and committed them to memory. Kemper learned the requisite psychological jargon and therapeutic skills to convince a parole board, blah, 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 to release him. So, he's like an actor, you know. If you just memorize, you know, I think you see what I'm saying, but all I'm saying is, I don't think Edmund Kemper isn't an idiot, but he's not this genius, you know, this prototype, this fake prototype, as we saw, that is out there of, oh, the serial killer is highly intelligent. Yes, look at Edmund Kemper. You look at his prison interviews. My God, when you hear him talk, but it's like, when you actually watch it, I don't know, for me, I was like let down. I'm like, this is just a normal guy. He kind of just, yeah, so he talks about himself and his crimes in a clinical way, and that makes people think he's like a genius with a super high IQ, and it's like, and then he tells that anecdote about like training that serial killer with like peanuts. If you know, you know, but go look it up. There was another serial killer in California at the time, same time basically as Edmund Kemper. I think Kemper was already in prison and grabbing a lot of the headlines when this guy was doing his murders and was arrested. Long story short, he was in the cell right next to Edmund Kemper, and Edmund Kemper will tell stories about this guy. I forget his name. But he was like crazy. He like believed he was killing people to diminish the population to stop an earthquake from destroying like California or some shit like that. There's a dead bug video on it. Just go watch it. The Golden State Killer maybe is what it's called. If not, it's from like maybe 6 months ago. But you should watch all his videos anyways. So this guy, he's in the cell next to Kemper, and he's like an obnoxious piece of shit, and he, you know, keeps fucking with the TV time, which is sacred in prison, and Kemper starts training him with Planters peanuts. Like, hey, I'll give you Planters peanuts if you do that. And it's like, oh, wow, so smart this Edmund Kemper is. He intuitively knows these psychological things, which is basically akin to training a dog. And it's like, oh, you gave the guy peanuts in jail when there's really nothing anywhere. Like, that's part of jail, you know. That's what they say. Like, if you go to jail, don't take anything from anybody because you owe them, basically, you know. There's stories I could tell about that guy. I know I had a couple friends that worked in jails, but yeah, I don't buy the whole Edmund Kemper high IQ thing. I think it's kind of a myth. But anyways, I think that about wraps it up. Everybody go listen to Opie and Anthony, the show that has been off air for years, but go listen to it. It's very funny stuff. Go listen to the Patrice O'Neal appearances. Go subscribe to Deadbug Says, and yeah, I'll see you all later. Peace.